Ribitch. That's like a scratch in the rib. Literally, the name means rib itch. It was originally the title of a cartoon that I had created back in the early 70s. I have been involved with the international surrealist movement for 34 years. Before that, my enthusiasm for surrealism began in my early years of high school when I discovered the surrealist artists. As I explored stuff about surrealism, what was available to me in English at that time, there was always these claims that surrealism died in 1945 when the surrealists went into exile from Europe. And I never truly thought that was completely true, because the ideas were too dynamic and too strong for it to just disappear because you had to leave the country during wartime. In 1975, I discovered a book, or the City Lights Review, and there was a whole section, a rear section, edited by the Surrealist movement in the United States. And I could truly see that the collective process of surrealism was not only alive and well, but the revolutionary principles that surrealism had from the very beginning were also alive and well. I had always been playing collective games in whatever art form that I would choose to work on, either writing or drawing. I started doing drawings with my sons when they were very young. I'm not exactly sure what age they were there, but they were quite young. And we would pass the paper around. We would do exquisite corpses with both David and Jason and their cousin and all their friends when they would come over and we play these games. And we still do that to this day. We play games with each other when we meet up. It became a ritual that becomes this sense of community amongst ourselves. These right here are exquisite corpses done by fellow surrealist Sharon Olson in the back. Now, before you move on, the exquisite corpse originally was a game of a piece of paper passed, folded, and it was a language game played amongst poets, and they folded the paper and they passed it around, and when they opened it up, the sentence ran, "The exquisite corpse shall drink fine wine." And it was this sense of surprise and this sense of discovery that galvanized this movement in its future creative and collective activities. These were important to me, and not only as an artist to break out of the box that I might find myself in, but also that it showed me these attitudes and realizations of discovering the marvelous in everyday life. We seem, as a society, to sometimes forget that we have imaginations. And when I would do storytelling as street performance, one of the things that I would do would be to bring the audience into the story. They would become characters in the story, or recipients of something that they would take home. My son talks often about the fact that I used to hand out these small butterflies to people at the end of my performance, and I would have the people go home and turn their TV sets off for a couple of hours and just listen to the butterfly and to tell each other the stories that they heard. And I started having people come back from my audience telling me that they picked out a night a week that they would turn their TVs off and they would tell each other stories that they heard during the week prize that I gave. I worked with the East Bay Center for the Performing Arts, teaching storytelling to 7-year-olds. Also worked with artists in the schools here in the Bay Area doing the same thing, and I would work with them doing improvisational stories and how to listen and to play these surrealist games. The last year that I participated in that project, before that we had developed a story. The kids would develop their story and polish it and then present it to their parents. The last year that I did it, I decided it was going to be pure improvisation. I was just going to work with them on improv, and that when they performed for their parents, they would be as empty as anything. So the director begged me and begged me and begged me not to do this. You know, she thought that, well, the pee-pee cock was going to come out of the mouths of 7-year-old boys. I had 8 7-year-old boys there, and she was afraid that. And I told her, I said, well, that happened the first week. Pee-pee cock is the first week, television's the second week, you know, toys, and then they discover what their own imaginations have to offer. So I told the audience, their parents, what we were going to do, and they were petrified because all the other kids had their dance steps and their routines all rehearsed and practiced, and they had no idea what they were going to do. I told the audience what we were going to do was risky, because improvisation is always risky. Working as a collective is always risky. And I got the suggestion of a person, place, and a thing, and I turned to these 8 7-year-old boys, and I pointed at one who began the story. And then I just would draw my hand away, and I would point at the next, and he would pick up where this one left off. And when they got done, they were the only group of kids that got a full house screaming, standing ovation. And it was like that I felt what the poet Paula Ward had said, the true poet is he who inspires more than he who is inspired. In that moment where these kids came from behind that stage, I knew that if I did anything that was a revolutionary act, it was that moment that these kids were able to take their imaginations and do what they did, that they would always carry that with them. The next piece here is also a piece that Jason and I did. You'd probably be surprised to see that. Jason was probably about 15 when we did this comic. We borrowed the idea from William Burroughs, Brian Jensen with the cut-ups, and we cut up comic books and put them in a bag and shook it up and put together these pages of a comic. Jason has always been one of my greatest collaborators. You can go on to the next one. He and I, when we sit down and draw together, we've become so comfortable with working with one another that we almost seamlessly seem to our minds meld together. These here were done over a period of time, passing sketchbooks back and forth. Jason has, I'm sure, has a lot in his sketchbooks too that we've done. So, to sum up what I've done recently, collectively, with Eric Bragg, a surrealist in Palo Alto. Last year, I collaborated with Eric on his novel, in which I illustrated his novel, and then we set about to the project of editing a book of surrealist short stories, which is available at small press distributors, and so is his novel. But currently, for the past year and a half, he and I and 4 other editors from around the world have been editing an international surrealist journal. and working the dynamics of doing such a collaboration, that we would be drawing upon the various groups, Surrealist groups in Madrid and Paris, Athens, Prague, here in the United States, some countries in South America. We just got contributions from Turkey. And this project is in the layout phase now, and hopefully we'll be out before the end of the year. And, a lot of lessons were learned